They say he doesn't have a face, a void where a visage should be, a black hole sucking in light and sanity. Some whisper he's a remnant of a forgotten time, a twisted abomination birthed from the primordial ooze that seeped into the heart of the Cumberland mountains. His legend is as old as the gnarled oaks that claw at the sky, their skeletal branches reaching like desperate fingers towards a heaven he seems to have escaped. Others claim he's a devil, pure and simple, a creature of shadow and malice, a harbinger of doom sent to claim lost souls as payment for some ancient cosmic wrong. But everyone in the hollows of eastern Kentucky knows of the Hollowman, the specter that haunts the winding roads and desolate woods of Hell's Ditch. Hell's Ditch isn't a place, it's a wound in the earth, a scar where nature seems to recoil in horror, a stretch of road that snakes through a desolate expanse, a place where the trees seem to lean in, whispering secrets to the wind that carry echoes of madness. It's a place where the sun seems to fear to tread, casting long, distorted shadows that dance and writhe like tormented souls. Local lore has it that the road was built on an ancient Indian burial ground, a desecration that angered the spirits of the dead. They say these restless souls still wander the woods, their mournful wails carried on the wind, a haunting melody that chills the blood. But there's something more sinister lurking in the shadows of Hell's Ditch, something older, darker, and far more terrifying. It begins with a silence that presses in like a physical force, a void that swallows sound whole. Then the fog rolls in, a malevolent living thing that creeps across the landscape, obscuring all but the faintest glimmers of reality. Cars, once symbols of power and control, become helpless prey, their engines choking and dying as if poisoned by the very air. A metallic taste fills the mouth, the scent of ozone hangs heavy, and the car, once a trusted steed, becomes a claustrophobic tomb. And then there's the sound, a low guttural rumble that vibrates through the bones, a primal growl that speaks of hunger and ancient, unspeakable evil. And finally, the eyes, two burning coals of crimson, floating in the spectral fog, growing larger, closer, until they fill your vision, consuming everything but terror. They say if you see the Hollowman, you're already a ghost in your own life. Your soul, a captive bird fluttering against the bars of a spectral cage. Some claim to have cheated death, to have looked into the abyss and lived to tell the tale. Old man Silas, a relic of a bygone era, his skin etched with lines as deep as the ancient trees, swears he saw the creature once. A towering skeletal figure, a mockery of humanity, its form shifting and wavering like heat rising from asphalt. Its eyes, he said, were black ice, reflecting nothing but the void, a cosmic horror staring back into your soul. And its breath, a chilling wind that carried the scent of decay and promises of eternal night. Young Billy Joe, a reckless spark in a world of shadows, vanished into thin air after a midnight rendezvous with fate on Hell's Ditch. His car, a twisted husk of metal, stood sentinel over the road, its interior bathed in an eerie, otherworldly glow. No forced entry, no signs of struggle, just an empty driver's seat, and a silence so profound it seemed to swallow the soul. The locals whispered of the Hollow Man's touch, a chilling caress that stole lives without a trace. Some claimed the creature could possess its victims, turning them into mindless echoes of their former selves, lost in a labyrinth of shadows and despair. And once ensnared in its web, There was no escape, only the promise of eternal night. I'd heard the whispers since childhood. My grandmother, a woman with eyes that held galaxies of ancient fears, would warn me of the ditch. Her voice a chilling wind that carried the scent of decay. She'd speak of shadows that danced in the fog, of eyes that burned through the veil of night, of a hunger that echoed from the dawn of time. I scoffed at her tales, a young fool blinded by the bravado of youth. But as years turned to seasons, the wind carried more than just the scent of pine. It carried echoes, whispers of vanished lives and shattered hopes. The Hollowman, once a shadowy figure in the corner of my mind, began to cast a longer shadow, a growing darkness that threatened to consume me whole. One night, a tempest of doubt brewed within me. Armed with nothing but a flashlight, a weapon as flimsy as hope, against the encroaching darkness, I ventured into the maw of hell's ditch. The fog was a living entity, a cold, clammy hand that enveloped me, stealing sight and sound. The road, a treacherous ribbon of asphalt, seemed to writhe and shift beneath the tires, as if the earth itself was in torment. The trees, their gnarled fingers reaching for the sky, seemed to close in, a silent, watchful audience to my descent into madness. With each passing moment, the silence grew more oppressive, a heavy weight pressing down on my chest, and then the first sign, a flicker of crimson in the fog, a malevolent eye opening in the heart of darkness. My foot slammed on the brake, the screech of rubber on asphalt, a desperate plea to the void. The car, a helpless vessel, skidded, bucked, and plunged into the icy embrace of the ditch. Pain, a sharp, insistent companion, jolted me awake. The fog had retreated, revealing a moonless sky, a black canvas dotted with indifferent stars. I was alone, or so it seemed. A shape emerged from the spectral veil, a grotesque parody of humanity. Towering and gaunt, it moved with an unnatural grace, its form flickering in and out of focus like a half-remembered dream. Its eyes, twin beacons of malevolent intelligence, burned through the night, igniting a terror deep within my soul. A guttural growl like the grinding of ancient gears escaped its lipless maw. I screamed, a feeble cry against the encroaching darkness. It stopped, its form looming over me, a mountain of shadow and despair. Time stretched, a rubber band pulled taut as I waited for the inevitable. Then silence, a void so absolute it seemed to suck the very air from my lungs. The creature stood motionless, its form a dark, ominous silhouette against the moonless sky. Its eyes, twin pools of inky blackness, seemed to bore into my soul, searching for something, consuming everything. A cold sweat broke out on my brow as I realized the creature was not merely observing me. It was feeding, on fear, on terror. With a strength that defied human comprehension, I pushed myself to my feet, my body trembling like a leaf in a storm. The creature let out a low, guttural chuckle, a sound that seemed to echo from the depths of hell itself. And as I turned to flee, I felt a cold touch on my shoulder, a chilling caress that sent a shiver of dread down my spine. Days turned into weeks, a procession of endless nights filled with the haunting echoes of that encounter. The Hollowman had become a specter lurking in the corners of my mind, a shadow that grew longer with each passing day. Fear, a cold, insidious parasite, had wormed its way into my soul, sapping my strength and stealing my joy. Hell's Ditch, once a mere stretch of road, had transformed into a portal to a realm of eternal darkness The woods, once a sanctuary of peace, now held only menace, their trees whispering sinister secrets in the night wind. Sleep, a fragile oasis, was a battleground where dreams became nightmares, and the Hollowman was the undisputed king. Even in the daylight, the world seemed tinged with an unnatural pallor, as if the sun itself feared to touch this cursed land. Then, one winter's night, the world turned to ice. A blizzard howled, a beast of white terror that swallowed the land whole. My home, a fortress against the storm, became a prison of shadows. The wind, a banshee's wail, rattled the windows, its icy breath seeping through cracks like a malevolent spirit. As the night deepened, a silence fell, a heavy, oppressive silence broken only by the relentless drumming of snow against the glass. And then a sound, a whisper carried on the wind, a scratching at the window pane. A cold dread seized me, a primal fear that froze my blood. Slowly I approached the glass, my heart a frantic drumbeat in my ears. There, pressed against the icy pane, was a face, or rather, the absence of one. A hollow, featureless void, a black hole staring into my soul. Its eyes, twin embers of hellfire, burned through the glass, igniting a panic that consumed me whole. I stumbled backward, my heart a frantic drumbeat against my ribs. The creature's eyes, twin black suns, seemed to grow larger, filling my vision. A cold sweat broke out on my brow as I realized the glass was yielding, cracking under the pressure of its inhuman strength. With a sickening crunch, the pane shattered, and the Hollowman lunged. Its form, a grotesque, shadowy figure, seemed to elongate as it crossed the threshold, its limbs stretching like hungry vines. I screamed, a sound lost in the maelstrom of terror as the creature closed in, its breath a rancid, icy wind washing over me. The world narrowed to a single terrifying point. Those black, soulless eyes, and the growing darkness that was consuming me. Animal fleeing a predator, my lungs burning, my heart pounding a frantic rhythm. The house, once a sanctuary, was a labyrinth of shadows, each corner a potential ambush. The Hollowman was a specter in the darkness, a silent, relentless hunter. His footsteps, muffled by the thick carpet, were a death knell echoing through the house. The cold, unnatural scent of decay grew stronger with each passing moment, a chilling perfume announcing his proximity. I stumbled, my breath coming in ragged gasps, my vision blurring. A crash behind me, a sound like timber breaking, sent a fresh wave of terror through my body. I dared not look back, knowing that turning would be inviting the darkness to claim me. Cornered, I backed into the bedroom, a final stand in a battle already lost. The room, once a haven of comfort, was now a tomb of shadows. The Hollowman filled the doorway, a looming dark presence. His eyes, twin black suns, burned with an inhuman intensity. The air crackled with anticipation, a palpable tension that hung heavy in the room. My breath came in ragged gasps, a desperate attempt to fill my lungs with life. I fumbled for something, anything to wield as a weapon. A lamp, a chair, anything to put between us. But there was nothing. Just the two of us, locked in a deadly dance of predator and prey. With a final desperate surge of adrenaline, I lunged at the creature, my hands clawing at the empty space where its face should be. Its form seemed to shimmer and distort, a mockery of human shape. I felt its cold, inhuman touch upon my skin, a searing brand of terror. A guttural, triumphant roar echoed through the room, a sound that seemed to vibrate within my bones. Its grip tightened, and I felt myself being lifted, weightless in the clutches of a force beyond comprehension. Darkness crept in at the edges of my vision, a black tide consuming my world, and as the last vestiges of consciousness slipped away, I saw its eyes, twin voids of nothingness, and felt a cold, icy calm wash over me. The next morning, the world was a stark, silent canvas painted in hues of white. A blanket of snow muffled all sound, creating an eerie stillness that was broken only by the mournful cry of the wind. Search parties, their faces etched with grim determination, combed the desolate landscape, their voices echoing through the frozen expanse. My car, a twisted skeletal remains, stood as a macabre monument to my disappearance. The interior, a chilling tableau of unnatural green light, was a haunting testament to the night's horrors. Whispers of the Hollowman spread like wildfire, igniting fear in the hearts of the people. The creature, once a shadowy figure in the darkest corners of the mind, had become a tangible terror, a malevolent force that stalked the land. And as the sun, a weak, pale orb, struggled to pierce the icy veil, a sense of dread settled over the community, a chilling premonition of the darkness that had claimed one of their own. They say the Hollow Man still roams the winding roads of Hell's Ditch, a spectral predator stalking the living. Some dismiss it as folklore, a chilling tale to frighten children into obedience. But those who have dared to venture into that desolate expanse, those who have felt the icy breath of fear upon their necks, know the truth. The Hollow Man is more than a myth. It's a haunting reality. Have you ever felt a cold dread in the quiet of the night? Have you ever glimpsed a shadow that shouldn't be there? Perhaps you know of a place, a stretch of road or a desolate wood, where the silence is so profound it's almost deafening. A place where the trees seem to whisper secrets in the wind, and the fog carries the scent of something ancient and evil. If so, perhaps you've caught a glimpse of the darkness that dwells in the heart of our world. For in the shadows of our minds, and perhaps in the shadows of our world, the Hollow Man waits